Good morning. I know the video is just about completely dark. You'll see my face here in a second. It is 5:45 in the morning. I just dropped my daughter off at her morning training session. She's in softball and her coaches don't play no games. She's got great coaches, but yeah, they definitely don't play any games, so she has training before and after school today. So I just dropped her off. They get an early start. But I did want to kind of hop in here because I'm not sure how late it may be today before I can report in. I've got a lot going on today, and sorry, I'm watching the road and you guys are just kind of hanging out. But just in case I didn't have time to sit down today, I just figured I'd take this moment and kind of update. Alright, so it's a little bit later, still day 10. Last night we had, or yesterday during the day anyway, we had some really, really heavy storms come through our area and dropped about, we're guesstimating, somewhere around 6 inches of rain within just a few hours. And the wind is terrible. It's been absolutely horrible. I just thought I would mention that in case you hear you'll hear it just here in a second. My studio door keeps kind of shuffling open and closed with the draft that's coming through. Because my studio is in one of those steel buildings, which is wonderful, but it does tend to be just a little bit drafty if there's a really heavy high wind. But anyway, so I was just checking back in. I talked to you a little bit this morning. I was probably still half asleep because we had a very early morning, as you could tell. But I am in my studio getting a little bit of work done for the day, and we'll soon be going to pick the youngin' up. So I wanted to go ahead and take this opportunity to film today's update. There goes my door. So I don't really have a whole lot to update. Things are still going well. I'm sticking to what I initially said I was going to. I'm drinking my coffee, water, and milk. That's all the beverages that I have. And then I am having dairy, meat, eggs, plenty of butter, and salt. And I am using some seasonings here and there, but I'm using salt as my electrolyte. Let's see. There was something that I was wanting to touch base on. Oh, I remember what it was. The electrolyte. So I found a video, and I'm going to have to figure out who it was and see if I can tag the video, who had sat down and did all the math to figure out how to make a electrolyte that is basically an LMNT like dupe, and it's quite a bit cheaper by the serving when you can do it yourself. So I'm thinking about doing that. Right now I'm just using pink sea salt or Himalayan salt as my electrolyte, but I can definitely tell that I need to incorporate a little bit something else other than the sea salt. I think it's cutting it for right now, but I definitely want to have the full spectrum of electrolytes that my body needs. And I'm also thinking about doing the Lugol's iodine. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, the whole purpose of today's video is I got to thinking that since I'm so early on in my journey or my testing Carnivore that I do need to kind of record where I'm starting as far as health issues. I know I had my video that kind of showed, what all my measurements were and my weight and, all that kind of stuff. But I didn't really go into detail as far as health issues that I am going to keep an eye on. And there's several, going from a little more serious to just minor cosmetic things that I'm just going to keep an eye on just to see if by chance I notice any difference. So I guess we'll start with minor stuff, starting with hair loss. Probably 3, maybe 4 years ago, I really heavily started losing my hair. It was thinning out terribly, just coming out in clumps in the shower. And my husband kept telling me, you cannot use cheap shampoo and expect your hair to be in good condition. However, I'd used a cheaper shampoo, like and when I say cheaper shampoo, sometimes it was Suave, sometimes it was Aussie, sometimes it was Fructis, sometimes it was Pantene. It was never salon quality stuff. It was always just what you could get off the store shelf, pretty much. So he kept telling me I needed to buy, a better quality shampoo. And I did eventually, and I did start to notice a little bit of my hair coming back. So I do think that the shampoo probably played a role in it, beyond just being just really bad for my hair in general. I think that maybe perhaps the stuff that I was absorbing through my scalp wasn't helping my situation any. And I also started taking multivitamins, and between the better shampoo and the multivitamins, I did start to notice some of my hair coming back in, but it's definitely nowhere near like it was before the hair loss. So as you guys can see, basically my hairline, instead of going and connecting where it comes here and goes down, I've got this big C patch, and I've got that on both sides of my head. This side's not as bad as this side, but it's where my hairline started receding. And you can actually see the baby hairs from where it started kind of growing back in those areas. But they are very sparse, very short, very thin. Like the actual strands are thinner than the strands up here. They're just not, as healthy. So hair loss there, and then just general thinning of the rest of my hair. I used to have super thick hair, and I know with aging you're bound to have your hair thin out just a little bit, but I think it was definitely thinning out at a rapid and alarming rate. So hair, I'm definitely gonna be keeping an eye to see if any of this seems like it might be improving. Who knows? Don't know if that's even possible, but we shall see. And especially just in 30 days. I mean, I'm not expecting really to see a whole lot of anything, but it's just worth a mention. Second thing is my vision. Now, this is a big one. I do wear glasses, but it has been, like, I really hate to say, but I really think it's been probably about 6 years since I've been to get any appointments or anything to get, like, my eyes checked again. And since then, there's definitely been issues. So I noticed that my glasses weren't quite cutting it like they used to, which, I mean, over the course of 6 years, I guess is to be expected that you might have to adjust your prescription. But about 6-7 months ago, I noticed that I had a spot in my vision. Now, most people would immediately like run to, excuse me, get some water. So most people would probably immediately run and go get that checked. I'm not most people. For one, I'm self-employed, so any and all medical comes out of pocket. So no, I wasn't exactly jumping at the thought of going and getting that checked and it being something that would require, extensive medications or possibly, recommendation of like LASIK or something like that. So, let my mind run wild with me. And I kind of scared myself out of going. So in my mind, I was like, okay, well, maybe it's just temporary. It'll go away. It has, in fact, not. It has not went away. It has progressively gotten worse. It's not terrible. I'm not nowhere near blind. I just have these like little specks in my right eye's field of vision that kind of, I have to concentrate to see them, and especially if I look at something like the blue sky, or it's like a white wall or something like that. It doesn't have a lot of colors or patterns going on. I can see it, but it just kind of looks like I've got like dirty specks on my vision, and there's like 2 or 3 of them. One of them being like the main first one, and it hasn't gotten too much worse, but now that I have a couple others showing up, I was like, oh, okay. This could be like blood pressure related, or, even diabetes, possibly? I don't know. Okay, so you're probably wondering, like, well, why wouldn't you go get that checked? Because, again, I don't do doctors. I don't like going to the doctors, and I don't like paying to go to the doctors. So I pretty much avoid it at all costs. Probably stupid on my part, but it is what it is. So these spots in my vision are still there, right eye. I am curious to see if any improvement happens. I do plan on getting this taken care of at some point in the near future, but just making a note that there is an issue with my right eye, and so maybe if there's an improvement, then we'll see about it. Let's see, teeth. I've heard a couple of people talk about that they noticed that their teeth got whiter. I have no idea what the science behind that would be, or if it's even true. I don't know, so I guess we'll see. I have stained teeth. They are like patchy. Ever since I had braces as a kid, I've always had like uneven spots. If I bleach my teeth, it bleaches just in certain spots, and the rest of it stays the, other color, the tan color, and like I have bleachy, like bright white spots. It's just never been even, and I've always had these spots on my teeth. So curious to see if there'll be any teeth whitening. Obviously, weight. I mean, honestly, the weight is just going to be kind of a side product. I am going to track it, but if this is helping my body heal, that's more important to me than immediately like dropping 40 pounds. If I'm feeling good. So moving on from that, I am curious to see if this hump on my back, which let me show you, back of my neck, let me see that. That is a hump in my spine, I guess, that has been there for many years. And years ago, when I went for a physical, they got alarmed by that hump because they said that it was a very good indicator of thyroid issues, at which time I had my thyroid checked and they told me that they were fine. So it never kind of really explained why I have that hump. They called it a Dowager hump. I don't really know much about it. I just know that I'm curious to see if that may help, because if it is a thyroid issue, maybe perhaps thyroids might be affected by this diet. So who knows? We're throwing it out there. There's a hump. Let's see. Stretch marks. I've seen people talk about skin improvement. I have got a stomach full of stretch marks from pregnancy, and I'm definitely curious to see if there's any improvement with those, which I do have before photos of what those look like. So I've got those on hand just in case there is a change. I will have a before and after, so maybe. Next is inflammation. So I have back problems, like my back hurts me a lot, and I'm sure that it is due to inflammation, because it even got to the point to where I would have my husband, when my back would hurt, just crack my back for me, like bear hug, crack my back, and he was always very gentle about it and everything, and it always would give me relief. And then another day or two later, I might need him to crack my back, it'd feel better, go on about my life, and we've just been living that life since then. Well, it got to the point over the past year that him cracking my back was painful. Not as in, like, I think he broke me, but as in, like, my muscles didn't want to release. Like, my muscles would tense up and it would just be the most painful thing, and he never could hardly get it to crack. And it felt like everything was just stiff. Very stiff, very puffy, very uncomfortable. So I feel like there was probably a lot of inflammation going on. So let's see if there's any improvement to my back. A couple months ago, I injured my shoulder working at what's soon to be my new store, because that's on the table. We are opening a store hopefully by March. Fingers crossed. There's a million things to be done between now and then, but that's neither here nor there. But I was helping take down what used to be an old nursery where, they'd have flowers and like all kinds of gardening supplies and everything. So this nursery was just absolutely falling apart. So we had to take it down and haul it all off, and it was months of work. We worked on it for like 2.5 months. Just because we didn't have a big crew. It was just me, my husband, and my father-in-law. And sometimes my daughter got to help, but not often. And we were having to work it in between the rest of our schedule. So during one of that, I picked up something either incorrectly or too heavy, and I injured my shoulder. So my shoulder has been bothering me. I have been back in the gym, so I'm hoping that between hopefully the diet helping with inflammation and then getting back in the gym and kind of working out that shoulder and strengthening those muscles, that my shoulder issue will subside. But it's kind of painful to like lift my shoulder with like any weight above my head. If it's down here, I can lift, so like the bicep curls and all that, but anything like pushing up from here and putting weight, it's painful. So that's a mark, or that's something to make note of. Trying to think. Goodness. I did end up having the whole sinus stuff that my family had, so dealing with that. Although I don't feel like I have it as bad as any of the rest of them did. Alright, so this is probably the biggest health issue that has like loomed over me for several years now, for many, many years. I have infertility. I don't know what the issue is though, and I know again you're like, well, go to the doctor. Well, for this one I did. And my OBGYN, she ran a multitude of tests. She tried, testing all my hormones and, tracking my cycles. And we even did what they call an HSG. Don't ask me to tell you exactly what that is off the top of my head because I don't remember. But basically it's where they take and they like inject dye up into your uterus, and it's supposed to run out the fallopian tubes and like prove that like your tubes are open, because that tends to be a problem that a lot of people have, that their tubes are blocked and they don't know, and when they run that test they can see that the tubes are blocked and they're like, oh, okay, this is your problem. Sometimes the pressure of the dye is even enough to unblock your tubes, and they were like, oh, we're so used to people coming in and getting this this test and then winding up pregnant a couple months later because ta-da, everything's now open and ready to go. So my husband and I started trying to conceive probably sooner than we should, to be completely honest, but I'm no spring chicken, so it's always been on my mind that, I didn't really want my children to be far apart in age. And again, you guys are just now getting to know me, but my daughter that I do have, who is about to turn 14, is from a previous marriage. So me and my husband now, we've been together almost 10 years, and we were probably starting to try to conceive probably 8 years ago. So don't judge me. Anyway, so it's been way longer than what anybody should ever, a healthy adult should ever try to conceive. And after, I think, 3 years of no success, I went to the doctor. They ran all the tests. Try it again. Hormones came back fine. They tracked my cycle. They said, oh, you're ovulating. Everything looks good. Don't understand it. Let's do this HSG to make sure that your tubes aren't blocked. Ran the HSG. Did find a blockage. They said that actually both tubes were partially blocked. So, you know, the dye cleared it. And they were like, oh, that was probably your problem. You'll probably be pregnant in no time. Well, here I am 5 years later. Still no luck. So we got him tested. Everything was like A+++. Like everything was great on his side. So it's clearly a problem with me. And it was basically to the point to where my OB just told me, I can't do anything else for you. You're going to have to go to a specialist. So she told me I was going to have to go to an endocrinologist. Again, we are self-employed, and going to a doctor is expensive. Going to a specialist is stupid expensive, and going to get fertility treatments is almost astronomical. Basically this doctor, which I mean, I'm sure that they could help us, but they wanted $600 just to say hellos. Like basically just introduce ourselves and explain what our situation is. And then from there, after our initial appointment, they would then, you know, decide, well, what to do. And then we would have to pay for every appointment and medication and procedure from then on out. Just for the initial appointment, not including labs, not including anything, just to say hello, was going to be $600. If I had insurance, sure. Not having insurance, absolutely not. So I got really depressed. I tried every supplement under the sun. My husband tried every supplement under the sun. I watched countless hours of YouTube videos of women that are in this situation. And I mean, just absolutely made myself miserable trying to figure this whole situation out. But here we are, and we've got a lot of business ventures going on right now that are keeping us very busy and very distracted from the fact that this is still something that we desire that has just not come to fruition for us, and that I'm not getting any younger. I'm 35, and I know that 35 is not too old to have a baby, but the fact that my only is 14, and you know, like there's going to be a huge gap. They would never have anything to do with each other. And then it's like you're kind of starting over. And, you know, there's just a lot of things that just make the subject very depressing. And it definitely wasn't what I thought my path was going to look like. But God has a reason for everything. So I don't know if our purpose is to just have one, or if our purpose was just to wait a while to have another. I don't know. So I guess, again, I have seen a lot of people talk about how the carnivore diet helps get hormones straightened out and helps, you know, whatever. And I mean, I haven't had this tested in 6 years. So, you know, my hormones weren't a problem then. Well, 5 years. So, but my hormones weren't a problem then, and so, you know, it makes me think maybe, you know, that was never the problem in the first place, but who knows? I'm rambling, but that's a big one is, you know, would we be one of those success stories is like, oh, you know, we got our nutrition and our diet straightened out and got off all the crap, and then my body started running more efficiently, and I lost a little weight, and I started feeling better, and I lost the inflammation, and then bam, pregnant. That would be awesome. And I would not be the first one. I've seen quite a few of these stories so far, so it kind of gives me a little bit of hope. But yeah, so that's kind of today's video. I know I just rambled on and on and on about my oohs and ahs and ouches and aches and pains and everything else, but I just want to have this documented so that later on down the line, hopefully I can pull this video up and I'll be like, wow, yeah, that's not happening anymore. And oh, look, this improved. And, you know. So I guess that's going to be it. I love you guys. Day 10, staying strong. If there's anything that anybody wants to ask, let me know. If you have any suggestions, let me know. And I'll do my next check-in probably Friday. We'll see. We'll just see how I feel. Might be tomorrow. You never know. Anyway, y'all stay strong, stay on course, and I will talk to you next time.